How is he only a 90 overall? You have Richard Sherman, some old man who can't run for jack.
You need to put respect on Zach Ertz's name and a bunch of other tight ends that should be higher than Rob Gronkowski.
The man hasn't played since 2018. He's not going to be the NL MVP.
And then he goes onto an Instagram live where he seems to have been under the influence, smoking a cigar.
I don't think MVP is indicative of the best player in the league. Welcome back to Go Chow. We're back for episode 22. Thank you all for all the support on Instagram and all our socials. Just keep watching the videos. Subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. You already know what to do. Anyways, let's jump right into the GOAT of the number. We're going over number 22. Not to forget, but this segment is sponsored by 1306 Sports. They're a sports company that broadcasts our podcast. They also broadcast a bunch of other really good podcasts, as well as some great articles that Connor and Tommy and others have written. But anyways, let's jump right into the GOAT of the number 22. Matt, who you got?
22. I definitely have to go with Emmitt Smith. I know you'd be happy, Mike, with a Cowboy. But he was a great running back. I'm a Hall of Famer, 3-time Super Bowl champ, 1-time MVP, which is kind of rare for running backs. We did talk about that with Dion, or a couple episodes ago, I think, something like that. But it's definitely rare for a running back or a different position other than a quarterback to win MVP. You definitely have had it, Adrian Peterson and a couple LaDainian Tomlinson, those guys in the past. But all in all, this guy was a great running back especially for the number 22. Just he was always an icon, like I even know about him. And, if you ask people, even fans back in the day, if they were what they could tell you about Emmitt Smith, they definitely tell you amazing things of how great of a running back he was.
Great choice, man. I love it. Tell me, who you got?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good pick, but as we know, I'm always going to go with a baseball person. So we're going to go with a former Yankee, one of the best pitchers of all time. He's not in the Hall of Fame because of PEDs, but Roger Clemens is who I'm going to go with for the number 22. I was looking at his stats, and, I always knew how great he was, but not quite to the extent. I mean, he won 7 Cy Youngs, which is incredible. He won 7 ERA titles, 2-time World Series champion, 2-time Triple Crown winner, was a member of 11 All-Star teams. I mean, that's about as good as it gets. It's hard to find anybody, really much better than Roger Clemens. And like I said, the only reason that he's not in the Hall of Fame is because, he did take steroids, and they'll always kind of taint his legacy. But, even though he took steroids, I mean, that is incredible. 7 Cy Youngs. I mean, you just don't see that. So, yeah, Roger Clemens is my go to the number 22.
All right, Tommy, another baseball player. Let's see if Connor agrees. Connor, who are you going with?
Tommy just almost swayed me there. He was really close to swaying me, really close. But I'm going to have to agree with Matt here and go with Emmitt Smith. I mean, the 3 Super Bowls, the 8-time Pro Bowls, the MVP, like he said. I think what he was talking about with the running back is back on episode 20 when we were talking about Barry Sanders. But, these are incredible numbers. I mean, we think he played on the Cowboys when the Cowboys were the team to beat. Like, they were the top of the NFL. No one could touch them. It was Emmitt Smith and Troy Aikman, and it was them, Terrell Owens against the world.
Not anymore.
No, it wasn't T. It was Michael Irvin.
Michael Irvin, excuse me. But, I mean, they had such a good team there, and to have Emmitt being such the explosive back he was out of the backfield, he was unstoppable, and that's why he's my go to the number 22. Roger Clemens is really close there. Roger Clemens is incredibly close there, and he deserves a spot in the Hall of Fame.
That's a great choice, Connor. And I'm going to have to agree with you and Matt. I mean, it has to be Emmitt Smith here. He's an 8-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro. One of the only running backs to win an MVP, like Matt mentioned earlier. You got, Adrian Peterson, Marshall Faulk, LaDainian Tomlinson. I think Barry Sanders won one too. But anyways, he also won Rookie of the Year, 3-time Super Bowl champ. And I'm telling you right now, if Jerry Jones did not get so egotistical and fire Jimmy Johnson after their second Super Bowl in a row, I think they could have won 4 in a row. And that's not even an exaggeration. This isn't just purely based on Emmitt Smith. That whole team was so good. It was probably the best offensive line of all time. A great defense, Hall of Fame quarterback, Hall of Fame wide receiver. That team was absolutely stacked. But anyways, you could argue that Roger Clemens is like a better player overall, but like Roger Clemens was only 22 for like half his career. So that's the reason why I'm going with Emmitt Smith right now. He's probably a top 5 running back in all of the NFL. The NFL's all-time leading rushing leader of all time. So I definitely have to go with Emmitt Smith. He's definitely my go to number 22. But 7 Cy Youngs is insane. I don't know if any other pitcher has reached that. That's ridiculous.
I would say, though, that Roger Clemens only wearing 22 for half his career does bump that down just a little bit. But, I mean, he wore 22 when he was with Houston and with the Yankees, and that was the prime of his career. That was the Roger Clemens that people were afraid to go up against every 5 days.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
No,
sorry, Mike.
you go ahead, Tommy.
But yeah, I agree with you. Emmitt Smith, he's a great pick. And, Roger, he wore 21 for the majority of his career, and he did wear 12 for, let's see how many, just for one season with the Yankees, he wore number 12 and they went to 22. But, so he didn't wear 22 for, a lot of his career, but, I thought he was worthy of mentioning because, yeah, I mean, I didn't even realize that anybody had gotten 7 Cy Youngs prior to looking at this, which it's pretty remarkable what he did. So, but I think you guys have a great pick as well. So,
Yeah, definitely. I also want to shout out Clyde Drexler, a great NBA shooting guard, won a championship in 1994-95 with the Rockets, 10-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA player, Hall of Famer, and also Elgin Baylor. He's a Hall of Famer, 11-time All-Star, 10 times All-NBA. Yeah, I mean, he was a great player, even though he never won a championship. 2 other great, really great basketball players.
So, Tommy, I have to ask you, Monday's episode is episode 23. Are we going to see another baseball player?
potentially, I mean, we have one of not the last Yankee captain, but the one before that, Don Mattingly. So I don't know. He's definitely in consideration. I mean,
Definitely have to stay tuned for that. Obviously being 22, we just sit here and throw out names, but I think we should move on to our main topics of today. So, of course, great picks by everyone, but we'll just move on to our next topic.
hello, everybody. Welcome back to Goat Chat. Now we're going to talk about some Major League Baseball news. Just got done talking about our go to the number 22. So now the big story of the week for baseball, obviously, and surrounding the whole season was what's going to be the impact of COVID-19. And we saw it this week. As of right now, 18 Marlins have tested positive for COVID-19, 16 players and 2 coaches. And it's caused them to, postpone their schedule until Monday is the earliest that they would play. They kind of put their season on pause. And, it's kind of trickled to a lot of teams around the league because the Marlins were in Philadelphia over the weekend. That's where the Yankees were going to be. So that series has been postponed. As of right now, manager Aaron Boone said today that it's going to look like the Yankees are going to play the Phillies. They're going to make up that series next week. But it hasn't been made official yet because, they still want to see what happens with the Phillies test. But as of now, they've had 2 rounds of testing come back and all have been negative, thankfully. So that's good on their end. But the Marlins were scheduled to play the Baltimore Orioles this week. And obviously that didn't happen because of the outbreak, and the Yankees were supposed to play the Phillies, and that didn't happen. So Wednesday and Thursday, the Yankees are playing the Orioles in Baltimore. Good divisional matchup. And, that series was supposed to take place next week, but they decide that they're going to swap those games for this week. And, there still is one more game next week that's supposed to be next, I don't know, Wednesday or something. in Baltimore, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen because even the Rays series that the Yankees start is supposed to be next Thursday is going to be affected because the Yankees are going to play the Phillies Monday through Thursday. So they're saying maybe a doubleheader on Friday or Saturday, some point in that series. Might see a doubleheader at Tropicana Field. So obviously it's not what baseball wants, but Commissioner Rob Manfred, he described as not being a nightmare scenario for the league, which, I would probably have to disagree with that. I mean, when you have 18 players on one team get the virus, definitely not what you want. But guys, what do we think?
A couple things here. Did the MLB not think this was going to happen? I mean, it's not to the extent of the outbreak, but I mean, they had to have known that there was going to be players who tested positive.
Yeah.
I think as of right now, they still do have a good plan in place. Jeff Passan, who was my go to the week a couple weeks ago for his reporting with the league coming back, tweeted out that the league did not say that they were in danger, but that they were in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, if the outbreak had continued to the Philadelphia Phillies and then further on, the league may have been more in danger. But I mean, as of right now, I think they controlled the situation well with the postponement of the games, as well as the Phillies and the Yankees series. So right now, I still think they are doing a good job and they have contained it well enough. And obviously, we're all hoping for the Phillies to have their tests continuously coming back negative. Another point here, which is kind of that I want to say about the Marlins, is there was a report that came out that they knew on Sunday that they had players who were positive, and they decided to play that game. Now, whether that be that they had already won one in the series and they wanted to win that series there, or they felt they could win that series because they're the Marlins and they didn't know how many games they were going to win that season, that doesn't matter when we're in a health crisis like this. So, I mean, if that report is true, that's a shame on the Marlins organization there, and it has to be better if we're going to continue through this season.
Yeah, I agree. And, that's something that simply can't happen. You can't leave it up to the teams to decide if they're going to play or not, if that's true. And, I mean, the league has to be, they have to take charge in this situation and, decide what's going to happen. And Michael Kay was talking about today on his radio show that, with the, like I mentioned, the Yankees might play a doubleheader next week, but they're not sure if those are going to be 7-inning games or not. And like Michael said, don't you think these would have been things that would have been discussed like prior to the season? I mean, it just doesn't seem like the league has a good grasp right now, and they're not really taking charge of the situation. So Manfred really needs to tighten it up if things are going to get better and they're going to be able to finish the season.
I mean, the one other thing I would say before I throw it down to Mike and Matt is the NWSL went through an entire tournament with no positive cases. The NBA bubble has come back with no positive cases. And now the NHL is returning August 1st because they have had a lack of positive cases outside of a couple teams. So, I mean, it shows that these teams can do it. It shows that these leagues can go without these positive coronavirus tests and these cases. So at what point does the MLB and Manfred specifically look at what the NWSL did and look at what Adam Sterling is doing for the NBA and say, oh, crap, I should be doing that for the MLB so that my players aren't in danger?
I mean, one thing to point out that's different between all of them is that they're all in a bubble.
That is.
So that obviously is going to have a big play on it, but that does not justify the MLB commissioner and his lack of I wouldn't want to say power because it has such negative connotation, but he definitely should have shut down if he knew about did he know about the Marlins or no?
He had no knowledge. It was in the Marlins team organization that they knew that they had the cases, and the team decided whether they wanted to play or not.
I think that the teams should be required to tell the MLB everything so that the MLB could make a judicial decision to shut that down. But what were you going to say, Tommy?
I was just going to say, I think they did know from what Manfred had an interview the other day. I think he knew, but I think he spoke to the Marlins and they felt they could contain it. So he gave them the option.
I just think that's bad judgment. I mean, other leagues are doing it in a bubble, and MLB's not, so they have that. But it's still possible to have a league with minimal coronavirus cases, in my opinion. I mean, we've seen the start of the season was pretty good the first couple of days until this came out. So definitely, it's a scare for the league, but I hope for the best for them in the future with these teams.
Well, first of all, I don't really think that Manfred knew about the Marlins having 18 positive cases. I feel like if anyone in the MLB knew about the Marlins having 18 positive cases, then they would have shut that game down in an instant, because they understand how fast the virus can spread, and they 100% know. They have a full PR team of what the outcome would be if this news came out saying, oh, the MLB knew this, this, and this, and they decide not to stop that. Their PR team would have shut that down instantly, because that's such a bad outlook on the MLB, stacked on top of what a poor job Manfred has done before the season with negotiating with the MLB PA. But other than that, I mean, if it was just the Marlins, I mean, come on, guys. How do you get 18 positive cases? Like, what are you guys doing in your alone time? Like, are you going like clubbing in Florida? I understand Florida, there's a large spike in cases, but it's not difficult. Just wear a mask, stay away from as many people as you can. Just stay with your team. It's not that tough. I don't know what they're doing in the clubhouse, but 18 positive cases is absolutely ridiculous. And if they actually did know about that, I'm just confused to how the Marlins knew, but the MLB didn't, because the MLB regulates all the testing. So the MLB had to send those results to the Marlins, right? So I think it was after the fact, after they played that game. And we are so lucky that the Phillies have gone through 2 negative rounds of testing. I think one more round and they should be good to go for the next game. I'm not sure the exact rules for that, but I think 18 cases is absolutely ridiculous. I have no clue how that happens. And hopefully the virus can continue to be contained, because outside of the Marlins, the MLB has done a good job, right? And like Matt said, the NWSL, the NBA, the NHL, they're in a bubble right now, so it's a lot easier to contain it. But I think the MLB is doing a pretty good job right now. And as long as, players wear their mask, like in the clubhouse and around, and social distance from people away from the team, they should be fine.
Well, and I would say a part of the MLB's plan for coming back was the other additional sites that have the like your minor league players, or like your Clint Frazier's, for example, with the Yankees and stuff like that, where you have those players who don't meet that 30-man requirement for the teams, but they're really close to being on that team. So where if the Marlins had controlled it well, and they knew that, say, one of their players in Miguel Rojas had gotten a positive test, they say, okay, you go quarantine. We're going to call up another left fielder here, or another third baseman here, or whoever, wherever Miguel Rojas plays, and they call him up and say, okay, listen, Rojas just had a positive test. You're playing for us tonight. Get ready. Like if they had gone through their optional sites like that and done it the effective way, it wouldn't have been this whole entire ladder of falling.
I think I read that the MLB didn't know how many cases there were, but I think they knew that there was a possible outbreak, but I could be wrong with that. But I also think that, I'm not a health official, obviously, but if the Phillies don't have any negative or any positive rather coronavirus tests, then you question whether how this virus is transmitted, whether it's by contact, which, technically speaking, one Philly player at least should. If these guys had coronavirus, that many Marlins, maybe a Philly player should have it. Maybe they shouldn't, with the ball, touching the ball and stuff. But definitely, I think that it's 100% spread through being close to each other. So they definitely should keep the 6 feet and the masks on to prevent and contain this virus.
Yeah, that's right. And I agree with all of what you said. And I might have misspoke before. When MLB knew that the Marlins had just 3 positive tests is what it was. They didn't know 18. I might have misspoken on that. So they knew that they did have 3, but they felt that because it was only 3, they kind of felt that they could contain it. But no, I agree with what all of you guys said.
I feel like if
Go ahead, Mike.
I feel like if it's just 3, just remove them instantly. Have all the players get tested that day. Call whatever players you need to replace them. I feel like if the MLB only thought it was 3, then I'd be okay with that. Then that's fine.
Yeah.
Like I said when we first started this segment, it's ultimately just a shame on the Marlins, and they have to be better. I mean, there were teams. I think it was the Reds who had a couple players not go on their trip with them because they were feeling under the weather. No coronavirus symptoms or anything, but they just were not feeling good, so they stayed home. That is the initiative that we need all 30 baseball teams to be taking. Is if any of my players don't feel well, stay home, get the rest you need, join us when you're ready. We're in a season with a health crisis. Right now, yes, the World Series and wins and everything is super important in a 60-game season, but these players' livelihoods and these coaches' livelihoods and these umpire livelihoods are all at stake, and that one needs to be more important.
Well, one thing I know the Mets did, they didn't have Jacob deGrom and Steven Matz travel with them to Boston. So they let their starting pitchers stay home who were not pitching that series, right? So I think that's something that all 30 teams can do. I'm not sure if they're all doing it. I have no clue. But that's another way to take an issue, like what you mentioned too, Connor.
Any other comments on the Marlins and this coronavirus outbreak before we go into our second, more relaxed MLB segment?
I don't know.
Okay, so Tuesday night was the first time the Dodgers and the Astros have met since the 2017, or since the news came out that the Astros had cheated in the 2017 World Series where they took away the title from the Dodgers. Obviously, we all know a Joe Kelly relief pitcher. He has a little bit of a temper on him here. He's no stranger to any to fights on the baseball field. Well, obviously he's throwing at batters and striking out Correa and making some sad faces there. So he was suspended on Wednesday for 8 games, as well as the Dodgers manager. He was suspended for 1 game. And then the Houston Astros manager was fined an undisclosed amount. 8 games in a 60-game season is a lot, especially after you've already played 5. That's pretty much a fifth of your season right there. What do we think?
I think it was I get that they cheated, but when you're trying to hit someone in the head, and I mean with Bregman it was 3-0, and the last one he just literally chucked it right at his head, and then he tried to catch him stealing and he threw it back to first, but he just whipped that like he was trying to hit him. That's just not okay. Like, I don't care that the Astros cheated. When you're trying to hit someone and possibly injure them pretty badly, I mean, if they get hit in the head or somewhere more serious, that's not okay. And I think that the suspension's fine. Like, I don't know what I would have done, but it's fine to me just because, it's not okay to hurt people. I get that they cheated, but it's just not okay.
Tommy, what do you think? You're a big Houston Astros not liker, so.
Not like it.
Yeah, well, that is true. I'm not a big fan of the Astros, but, you can't throw at somebody's head, and I agree with you on that, Matt. That's completely out of line to throw at somebody's head. But at the same time, I do think that 8 games is excessive because, like you said, Connor, it's like a fifth-year season. I think I saw something.
Tommy, what if he actually hit him and seriously injured the guy?
No, and see, I do understand that, and he does have a history of it, and it is understandable why they gave him that suspension. No, I think it's terrible that he threw at his head, but I mean, all I'm saying is that it's a lot more than we've ever seen, right? Because if you did it like equivalent to an 162 game season, that would be a 22 game suspension, which, I mean, you don't see 22 game suspensions. Like there's times where there'll be brawls, punches will be thrown, and a guy gets 5 games. 8 games, and see, here's the thing too, though. I do understand it because Major League Baseball was very clear prior to the season that they don't want any brawls happening because of social distancing. And I think that was their way of showing that, we're not going to allow this to happen. And it was for multiple reasons, obviously. Throwing at the head is unacceptable, and, you can't be starting brawls, especially during this time. And Manfred was also very clear that he was going to protect the Houston hitters, to try to keep them safe. And so, I do understand why it was 8 games, but just personally, I feel like it was a little much, but I do understand it.
You mentioned the equivalent to a 162 game season. Well, obviously, Joe Kelly played on the Red Sox prior, and there was a brawl there with Tyler Austin.
Yeah.
Now, that they did hand out suspensions there. Tyler Austin was suspended 5 games, Joe Kelly 6. He was suspended 6 games in a 162 game season there, and 8 in the 60 game season. I get it. The throwing at the head and the taunting and everything, there's no place for that in baseball. Baseball is a gentleman's sport, and that's what it has to stay at. But the 8 games is a lot. It's a lot. I kind of just want to leave it at that. I mean, the suspension's totally warranted. He has absolutely every reason to be suspended. But you're taking a key piece of a team out for a fifth of the season.
I agree. And one thing that I forgot too is that he did yell a profanity-laced statement at Carlos Correa after he struck him out, which, people do that all the time, but Joe just did a lot of things last night that you can't be doing out there. So I think that could have gone into it as well.
Well, I have to agree with you guys. I feel like he definitely should be suspended. You could go on here, all these old school baseball guys, throwing at the heads is nothing. It's a part of the sport. And like, baseball isn't, it's just, it shouldn't be like that, to the point where you're targeting someone's head, you're throwing 100-mile-an-hour fastball at them, right? Not everyone's Tanaka. Not everyone can take that straight to the dome, okay? They're not man enough like Tanaka. But anyways, he almost hit Correa and Bregman. Like, Correa had to, full on squat, get his behind to the dirt to duck that pitch. I mean, that was spot on, especially considering it was a 3-0 count. I don't know why you couldn't do that hit the strike zone for the first 3 pitches. Anyways, I definitely think he should have gotten suspended. 8 games, maybe a little too much. The more I think about it, the more I think it's appropriate. I think 5 or 6, maybe 7 would be better, and it's not like Joe Kelly's Mr. Nice Guy. This guy has been like, the devil of whatever team he's been on. He's been the instigator, right? So I think the combination of the previous altercations he's been in, and now, I mean, I love trash talk. I'm fine with it. I just, when you put the players' health and safety at risk, especially with the coronavirus, and now you're aiming for, their head, I don't think it's not good. And Connor, I know how you're saying, like, they're taking a key piece away from the Dodgers team, but one of the things I hated last night, Joe Kelly was acting like he's like the best relief pitcher in all of the MLB. I mean, he had a 4.5 ERA last year, 4.3 the year before. He had a good season before that year with a 2 something, but he had a 5 ERA the year before that. So he's not this stellar pitcher, okay? You struck out Correa once, buddy. Pipe down. We get it. Just because they don't got trash cans banging doesn't mean you can talk all that smack to him. You know what? It's kind of hard to say because, I'm not a Yankees fan or Dodgers fan. The Astros cheating hasn't affected me directly. If it happened to the Mets, I would probably be infuriated. But at this point, I'm looking at it from an outsider's perspective. And once Joe Kelly comes back and they play the Stros again, I kind of want to see Correa hit like a 500-foot bomb off of him. I'm not sure about you guys, but that would be pretty satisfying for me at least.
Do we dare call Joe Kelly the Vontaze Burfict of the MLB?
But Vontaze Burfict was like an all-star player. Joe Kelly's nothing. Like, seriously. He's like that old dude that 30-year-old that shows up to the park, schools like a bunch of 16-year-olds, and is talking crap to them.
So now you're calling the Houston Astros 16-year-olds.
That's not what I'm saying. I mean, they cheated like 16-year-olds on that test, but
I'm just messing with you right there. Do we have any other last comments about MLB in general before we move on to the NBA restart?
let's go Mets.
All right, we will be right back with Thursday's matchups. Welcome back to Go Chat here. We just had a good conversation about the MLB and all those current events. We are now going to move in to Thursday's matchups. NBA is back in the bubble in Orlando. We're all excited to have basketball back. We are finally getting that sense of normalcy back. All our sports are coming back. We are all very excited. Let's get right into the matchups here. The first matchup of the night, we have the Utah Jazz versus the New Orleans Pelicans. And then the 10:30 match. This is the one that we're all going to be tuning in for. It's the Clippers and the Lakers. The battle of the LA. Two possible Western Conference Finals teams. Matt, what do you think about this?
The Pelicans Jazz game, Zion Williams is a game time decision, which might be big for me in my pick, but I'm gonna say he does play, and I think the Pelicans will win. I'm interested to see what the Jazz do. I was not able to catch any of their scrimmage games, but obviously with Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, whether that's going to be a problem or not, I'm not high on the Jazz. I'm a little high on the Pelicans, so that's why I'm kind of picking the Pelicans for that first game. And then also the LA game is huge. I mean, you got two teams that possibly, obviously I had the Lakers winning, Tommy had the Lakers winning, and then you guys had the Clippers winning. So obviously winning the playoffs in the West. But obviously this is a big matchup. I'm going to go with the Clippers here. I think the Clippers get the first game. Got to get the Lakers a little get their chemistry flowing, especially with new guys like Dion Waiters and J.R. Smith, obviously with Avery Bradley not being there or Rajon Rondo. But Lou Williams also isn't playing, so that's also an iffy, but I'm going to go with him.
That Lou Williams situation is just awful.
I mean, come on, dude. He really went to a nightclub for hot wings.
I mean, we talk about how the Marlins down in Florida, how they get their cases. I mean, Lou Williams has to look at that. They are in Florida.
I know. They're literally in Orlando. They're probably in a hot spot, because it's kind of a big city in Florida. And you probably think there's a lot of partying going on there right now. But obviously not a smart decision with Lou Williams. He's on a great team, too. I mean, you have a prime spot. But I think the Clippers take this one anyway.
Mike, what are you thinking?
I definitely have to go with the Jazz against the Pelicans. If Zion was 100% healthy, I might think of something different. But I feel like the Jazz are kind of built to, defend him a little bit. They got probably the best rim protector in the league in Rudy Gobert. And, they got some wing defenders to throw him at him too, like Joe Ingles. I'm not saying Joe Ingles is locking down Zion in any sort of way. But, he might be able to slow him down a bit. And, you still got Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell. I think they're going to come out on top in that game. I just don't think the Pelicans with Zion, just bursting in, they're going to win that game at least. And then with the Clippers-Lakers game, I don't know. It's going to be a really tough game. I don't think, the winner of this game is going to decide the winner of, the finals. Unless we see something, insanely off, either Kawhi and Paul George just go berserk and they shut down LeBron. They completely dominate Anthony Davis and LeBron, or the other way around, right? I feel like it's probably going to be a closer game. I feel like the Lakers are going to pull it out. I don't know. Dion Waiters and J.R. Smith have been looking pretty good in the scrimmages. So I think the Lakers might pull it out. And with the Clippers, I think Kawhi has been playing in all of the scrimmage games. I'm not exactly sure all the reports about that. But, it might take a little bit for Kawhi to get back into the flow, but I won't be surprised if either team win. It's a toss-up between them two, but I'll go with the Lakers just because.
Tommy,
regular season team.
Tommy, we know you're not a huge basketball guy, but you are a sports guy, so give us your insight on this.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to go with Matt Cain with the Pelicans one. I'm counting on Zion playing tomorrow night, and I think he's gonna help bring him another victory. But obviously, if they're gonna make it into the postseason, Zion's got to be playing well, right? So I'm expecting him to come back. I think he's going to be ready to go tomorrow night. And I got the Pelicans over the Jazz. And, part of my decision in that too is obviously we all, it was well documented right at the beginning of the COVID-19 situation when Rudy Gobert and the Jazz, a few of them had the virus. And, I think the chemistry probably won't be what it was prior to that situation. So that went into my decision a little bit as well. So I got the Pelicans in that one. And I'm going to go with the Lakers. I think that, is Anthony Davis healthy?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that they'll beat the Clippers, but the Clippers have Kawhi, so it's going to be a good game. I'm looking forward to it, but I just think LeBron and Anthony are going to give them the edge over the Clippers tomorrow night.
I think the thing that I'm most excited to look for down there is if there's going to be any sort of a home court advantage or any favor towards the home team, if they're going to have anything over the loudspeakers or anything of that sort to see if there's any extra advantage that they're giving towards that home team. But with my picks, I'm going to go with the Pelicans in the first game, even if Zion doesn't play. I think Brandon Ingram is just a great talent there. I mean, we've seen how much fun JJ Redick is having down there in the bubble. He's shotgunning beers in kiddie pools. So, I mean,
he's going to be a little too heavy with all that brew in his system, man. What do you think?
Hopefully you can go down there and switch from splashing in the kiddie pools to splashing those threes down into the net. But, I mean, I think the Pelicans will win that one. And, I mean, Matt alluded to the chemistry in Utah. We really don't know what it's going to be like. So that'll be interesting to see. I think they picked the best 4 teams to put on the first night here. You have the Jazz, who kind of caused all of this. You have obviously Zion, and then you have the big heads in the West there, and the Clippers and the Lakers. Moving to that, I'm gonna go with the Lakers there. I just think that Anthony Davis looked really good. Deion Waiters and J.R. Smith both looked really good. LeBron posted a picture on Instagram last week, and he just looks absolutely ripped. I go back to our start bench cut episode a couple of weeks ago, and I go back to the last one where I decided to cut LeBron, and I regret that every morning when I wake up. LeBron was no reason to get cut there, and I trust LeBron to bring home another title to the Lakers here. I am switching from the Lakers to the Clippers now.
Nice.
Just because LeBron got a 6-pack in an Instagram pic, that's why you're switching?
No, it's not.
Because he actually got a brain.
They have looked so effective, and they look like they've really flowed in their first couple scrimmage games, and I just think they're going to go all the way there. So, I mean, these are definitely 2 good games to start off the NBA restart, and I'm excited to see more down there. I'm excited to watch my Miami Heat there on the first.
I think.
Yeah, I think it was 2. I was just kidding about, the Clippers and Lakers. That's such a toss-up. I really don't have any idea who's going to win. I'm just going with the Lakers in the playoffs. But I think Zion, I don't think he was injured. I think he had a family emergency, and he's been back for 12 days. I think the 10-day is the period where you have to quarantine yourself. So I think it's just whether if he's ready, I guess, to play with the team. But I also would like to point out the Pelicans are undefeated in the exhibition. I just looked that up. So they're definitely on a hot streak, and I think they need to win. They literally need to win.
That's the point I was going to make, Matt, because I was as Tommy was talking, I was just thinking in my head, the Pelicans are desperate for wins. They need to get in the playoffs. The Jazz already have their spot locked up, I'm pretty sure. Even if they lose all 6 games, I think they're still in the playoffs. So I think the Pelicans need to win. They got that desperate, the urgency can really bring, can really bring up a team's skill level a lot. So I think I get why you guys are picking the Pelicans. I just have a feeling the Jazz are going to win. I've liked the Jazz all year. So I'll pick the Jazz for this game. I think they match up well against the Pelicans. And Connor, I mean, you really switching to the Lakers? Why? I'm just wondering why.
I am going to have to. You know what? It really is just like I'm a huge LeBron fan. I really am. I have followed him wherever he went. I mean, obviously.
Cut him, though.
when he was on the Heat, I had a LeBron jersey in my closet any chance I could. And then even when he went to the Cavs, at first I was a little sour there, but I mean, once he brought that championship there to Cleveland and you saw the true emotion, it really showed me that LeBron is more than just that basketball player there. And then obviously he opens up the I Promise school there in Ohio. So I mean, he's an all-around great guy, and I mean, his talent is second to none. Episode 23 is going to be a good conversation there, but LeBron is a downright great player, and I think he's going to lead the Lakers. Him and Anthony Davis, with the addition of the veterans that they did have who have been performing well in the scrimmage games, I think will bring them over the edge.
Well, I mean, they did lose a couple players. They lost Avery Bradley. They lost did they lose Rondo?
I think they lost Rondo.
Yeah, so I mean, they could look great in practice games, but we don't know how they're going to play in actual game time situations. You look at JR in the finals in 2018. You know, is that going to happen again? It's J.R. Smith. Who knows? Anyways, I still have to roll with the Clippers here. I guess I'm a one-man rodeo. You know, I kind of like to see us all back and forth. You know, this year he's on the Clippers. Next he's on the Lakers. This year Sam Darnold's the best quarterback in the league. Next year Sam Darnold's a bust. What's going to happen? Who knows? Anyways,
Jamal Adams is the best player. Oh,
no, Bradley McDougal's a little better.
Guys,
roll the clip of him cutting LeBron right now.
Giannis and Kawhi are playing better than LeBron. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to start Giannis, bench Kawhi, and cut LeBron. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to start Giannis, bench Kawhi, and cut LeBron. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to start Giannis, bench Kawhi, and cut LeBron.
Anyways,
called Sam Darnold the bust.
I'm kidding. Anyways,
we also have to remember in the East, just because they aren't playing tomorrow or today when we're watching this video, Milwaukee, they are still, I mean, they're the head in the East. They are the team to beat over there. So I mean, it's probably going to be either the Clippers or the Lakers against Milwaukee. So that'll be a great matchup there. And I mean, it could possibly be LeBron versus Giannis, who are going to finish first and second in the MVP voting. So that'll be a fun thing to watch if we do get that.
I think whoever wins the West is winning it all. And so, I mean, no offense to Giannis and the Bucks, they just don't got the playoff experience to finish in the finals.
I mean, I think we should roll the clip again of Connor cutting LeBron.
So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to start Giannis, bench Kawhi, and cut LeBron.
That's always going to haunt you, buddy. You know it's going to.
You know what, though, is for that start bench cut, I had every single one wrote down exactly what I was going to do. And that last one was blank because I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do a spur-of-the-moment thing. Whatever happens, happens. Whatever I say is what I'm going to say. And then it came out of my mouth, and I was like, that's not what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely one that got some
got some heat on Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't the most heated thing on Instagram, but we'll finish this NBA off. Dark horse teams. If you don't have one, that's okay, but I want to hear what you guys have to say about a dark horse team that can make it to the finals, possibly win.
I'm going to say again, I said it a couple times on this, the Houston Rockets.
Oh, okay.
Well, I thought you were going with
the Heat.
I'm not going to go with
I thought you were going to say the Heat. You back it up.
The Houston Rockets, I mean, yes, they traded away a lot of their their tall guys there. I mean, they're going to have PJ Tucker running the center. But I think if Russell Westbrook and James Harden can share the ball effectively, if this time off has finally told them that they can share and they can both score and get their rebounds and their assists, I think Houston's going to be a team to beat.
I have to agree with you, Connor. I mean, Houston has looked absolutely fantastic in these exhibition games. I understand it's just an exhibition game, but James Harden has looked fantastic. Russell Westbrook has looked amazing as well. And let's not forget, before the hiatus, Russell Westbrook was probably playing was probably the best point guard in the NBA at that point in time. He was playing the best. He was averaging 30 points a game, 8 assists, like 7 rebounds or something like that. So he's absolutely fantastic, and his efficiency was on point. So I love the Rockets. They beat the Celtics by 20 the other night. the only bad thing, Russell Westbrook and James Harden got dunked on by Carson Edwards the other night. Really bad. Anyways, I definitely have to roll with the Rockets. There's just I'm getting a different feeling from them this year. I feel like James Harden, he's just tunnel vision to the finals. I have a weird feeling.
Tommy, do you have any dark horses?
Well, I'm going to throw out one that probably won't win it, but they're my favorite team, the Brooklyn Nets. Hey, I'm going to be honest, I haven't followed them too much this year, but I know they're trending upward. They got KD and Kyrie for next year.
For next year.
As of right
Obviously
now,
not playing.
obviously they're not playing. But I don't know.
Not. They got Karis LeVert. There you go.
Oh my gosh, yeah. The finals with those guys.
They do have a good young team there. They'll be good in either next year or the year after that. They'll be a team to watch.
No, they're going to be good next year. KD's coming back better than ever. They'll be good next year.
Yeah, so I'm going to be honest. Don't know too much about them. I know you guys know much more about this than me, but I'm going to throw them out there. You never know what could happen. They
Exactly.
could go on a little run there. And
They're definitely on the uptrend. I'd like to say that, Tommy. They're not like the Knicks, who are just not a great New York team.
I mean, they're just miserable. Just everything they do, they're just absolutely horrible. Like, they can't get anything right.
So I'm going to throw out a dark horse. I think a dark horse, if I had to pick between a team in the West or the East, it's definitely going to be the East. I think that the West is going to run through the Lakers and the Clippers. My dark horse, I'm going to go homer here. I'm going with the Sixers. I love what they did with Ben Simmons, putting him on the power forward position, putting in Shake Milton to be the point guard. I think that it's going to be a hit or miss for the team. I think it totally could be a hit. We'll just have to see what's going to happen. I mean, they definitely started hot in the regular season right in the beginning. I think they could do that right away and possibly get up to a 4 seed. I don't know, probably a 5 seed, but that's going to be my dark horse. It's dark for a reason. So it's a dark horse. It's probably not going to happen, but you don't have to break that to me right now. I'll see you on the way. So
I mean, if the Sixers are a 5 seed, and I mean, Miami is right now sitting at 4. That'll be a good.
They're beating Miami. Like, I don't know what you're thinking if they're not going to beat Miami.
Are you sure?
They're beating Miami. I'll put that right now on the table. I think that's.
What do you mean? Bam Adebayo won the All-Star Skills Competition. Are you kidding me?
No!
That's what I'm saying.
It's not like the Sixers
He's
have
too good. I mean,
it's not like the Sixers have a possible defensive player of the year in Ben Simmons, who leads the league in steals. But
No, I mean it's a good series.
Yeah, it would be a good series. Jimmy Butler,
especially Jimmy Butler facing his old team.
Miami will win in 6.
Yeah, no, Jimmy Butler couldn't even come up clutch last year in the playoffs.
He was the best player in the Sixers by far last year in the playoffs. He's the only reason they got to 7 games with the Raptors.
The only reason. And now
okay. All right.
I mean, if you want to talk about playoff experience, we could bring up the game where Ben Simmons scored 0 points in a game against the Celtics.
I mean, we could also pull up that the Sixers have the Celtics this regular season.
Oh, the regular season. Ooh, scary.
Don't even start with this regular season. Are you kidding me? The regular season matters. Don't act like it's just like a throwaway.
I mean, the Celtics are just better than the Sixers. They've taken advantage of the Sixers.
Well, maybe they are, but we'll just have to see if they face in the playoffs. What's going to happen?
Let's save this conversation for when we have more details and more matchups for the playoffs.
He just got me running. I'm sorry. My wheels are running right now. My motor is going.
Yeah, unlike Ben Simmons when he's in the playoffs.
Oh.
Anyway, I think
oh my God. We are losing first round, period.
I think this is going to wrap up a really good episode of Go Chat, episode number 22. As Matt still talks down there, let's just ignore him. It's another great episode 22. Obviously, on Monday, we're coming with episode 23. That's probably the biggest go to the number that we will have thus far.
Ever.
We have some pretty big names up there. I mean, 24 to follow and 25 after that. We're hitting some really good numbers right here. So definitely now is the time to tune in to Go Chat. Hit that subscribe button. Follow the socials. All of our personal socials are up now. And obviously, just stay safe, stay healthy, and enjoy Go Chat.
We also did put the go of the week up, but by the time you guys look at it,
Tommy's destroying us. I
Tommy's
don't
gonna be
know.
destroying us. So
You know.
it's I can't do this. We need to stop this right now before I go on a rant. It's been too long.
Have a good week.